Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, to today's stream where I'm joined by my good friend Steve, Esteban the Bold, and Josh, Renegade Wingman, where we are going to dive into the topic of how to design your dream lifestyle. Before we get into that, guys, if you're new, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, turn on all notifications, like the video. I'll drop a link here in the chat here in a second. So if you want to get up here on the panel and talk about the topic with us, you're more than welcome to do so. If not, just leave some Q&As there. And then after the video is published, of course, go down in the comments and keep the conversation going. That being said, we can go ahead and kick it off. How are you gentlemen doing today? Enjoying your dream lifestyles?
Yeah, man.
Very much
Absolutely.
so. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't say living the dream lightly. Like, it's it's a dream. It's fun.
So let's get started by what a dream lifestyle means. So for me personally, a couple of years ago, I got to the point where I realized that I'm the architect of my own universe, that anything I visualize, I can turn it into reality, usually pretty quickly, usually within a year. And I hold these visions firm in my head. And talking to Steve in the pre-show, sometimes I get a little frustrated and flustered when people aren't falling into the plan that I have, but you end up getting there pretty quickly. So for me, once I developed that ability to realize that I had that superpower, it's really about just architecting your own life. Usually at the beginning of every year, I have an activity I do. I give it to my coaching clients. I'll probably introduce it as part of the onboarding process for the top 10% group because I think it helps guys set a clear foundation of where they're going. And then I follow that. Then I check in every year, and usually I hit my goals right on the head. Much to the point where Rich Cooper always says, "Hey, set bigger goals. You have bigger dreams." I'm like, all right, now. So now the numbers are getting bigger and the results are getting bigger, and I'm excited to continue the process or the journey. And as guys, we're all on different journeys and at different points in our lives, but for me, that's how I consider designing the dream lifestyle. Really being diligent about it in terms of like, okay, here's my goals in these certain categories or verticals or spokes of my life. Here's how I'm going to achieve them, and here's what that process looks like. And then when you have a plan, you just hold on to it, and then you find that just kind of happens. I know that not all guys are the same, but at least that's the experience I've had. Guys, feel free to opine on your experiences or elaborate.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we had that conversation right last week on the top 10%, community call where we were kind of discussing around, a core element to, just game of life in general is right being able to custom tailor what your idealized lifestyle is. An important part of that, right, is figuring out what the financial side of the equation looks like. And for some of you guys, the number is going to be right relatively small. For other guys, it's going to be relatively ginormous. So figuring out first, right, what number is required is going to be extremely, extremely helpful in managing the logistics of setting up your idealized lifestyle, right? Do you love traveling all over the world, all over the time? And do you have to have first class accommodations? All right, then you're probably going to need, to be making probably, $100,000 to $200,000 a year minimum, right, in order to afford that type of lifestyle. If that doesn't appeal to you at all whatsoever, and you're more of like, hey, I just like, kick it in my local area. My idea of a vacation is maybe I'll go like, an hour up into the mountains and go camping. And just keep it very low key and keen, then yeah, who knows, maybe like $60,000 a year, right, is your idealized lifestyle. So knowing what that particular number to support your dream lifestyle is a really, really key component in looking at building out what that lifestyle is for yourself. But again, you got to ask, like, what does your dream lifestyle mean for you? For me, it's about being able to drive fast cars, go eat at fun places, and go do a bunch of travel with my friends and stuff. So for me, there's a certain amount, especially with the particular cars that I happen to like, there's certain requirements around income that have to be met in order to be able to afford that type of lifestyle. But again, just because that's my dream and my ideal lifestyle, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be what works well for you. So, I always am a huge proponent, especially when I'm working with my clients, to first sit down and say, all right, let's talk finances, right? Let's map out how much does it cost on average, right, to fund your lifestyle for a year. Then you will have a good picture of, again, where you are versus where you should be. And then, if you want to start thinking about things like retirement or, dynamic flexibility or being able to exit out of the workforce for, extended periods of time or indefinitely, then specifically what number you need to hit. So you actually have something to work towards rather than a vague, well, I don't know, maybe you have like $1 million, that'll be great. Well, you know, if you had $1 million, if you give me $1 million tomorrow, if your ideal lifestyle costs $100,000 a year, you only got 10 years worth of clearance, right? But if your idealized lifestyle really costs $200,000 a year, you got 5 years clearance. So that million doesn't really go as far, right? So again, you want to know what the financial situation is when you're building out your dream lifestyle, and it can be relatively easy to map out if you just sit there and think about, all right, here's what my travel budget is, here's what my food budget is, here's my living budget, X, Y, and Z.
I was going to ask a follow-up on that. How do you guys do that? So I use a tool. I like mint.com because you can just sync all your bank accounts, and I do international stuff too. So it just gives me just log in, look at my dashboard. It gives me an overall financial picture of the life of me. And then obviously I can go into the separate accounts and actually look at the transactions. Although it syncs a lot of them over, I think most of the major financial institutions, and then just figure out, okay, well, here's my cash in this month. Here's my cash out. Here's where I need to be. Is it fitting in line with my 3-month goals, 6-month goals, year goals? Is it part of my longer term plan? A lot of times I look for, okay, is there momentum? So I'll have months where they're leaner, but then I'll have big months, but I track the trend lines. Like, okay, pretty much since I've started off on my journey living life by my own design, there's been a steady uptick. I had a cash flow lean month last month, and then this month has been quite well. So, all right, sometimes you get down, you're like, oh, I'm not where I want to be, but I log into Mint, and it has all my portfolio accounts linked to it too, and you're like, oh, I'm actually becoming richer. I just need to be patient and just not worry about it, and just know that I have systems and structures in place that are not going to lead me astray because I designed them to get me to where I want to go, despite the various obstacles or roadblocks you might encounter along the way.
Yeah, and that's totally it too. I was just gonna say I try to not ever live above my lowest month baseline. So everything above that lowest month is going to be upside. So like if I have my lean month, whatever that is, I try and like I may break even as far as like life is concerned that month, but then the next month maybe I double or triple or quadruple that, which is not uncommon with what I do as far as being relatively seasonal. So I, you know, I like that. I like the idea of just living significantly below whatever the mean means. You know what I mean? Like whatever the median you make. I like living significantly below that, so you're always building on top of it.
I do that too.
mean, regardless of what that is. And I'm a pretty simple guy as far as travel and stuff. Sure, like yeah, we were just talking about travel. You know, we've been talking about traveling more and going more places and stuff like that. So I'll set some money aside for that specifically. But as far as like day to day stuff, I'm not an expensive person to please. I don't care. Like personally, I don't care about going on $200 dinners. I'm not a fast car guy. I'm a truck guy. You know, whatever, driving around, live for, you know, it can live forever, 20, 30 years, 40 years. I could drive the same vehicle. It wouldn't make any difference to me. I'd rather fill up a passport than fill up my garage, you know? So I'm kind of that guy, but yeah, that's
do both.
yeah. I mean, the goal now is to do both. I just know that if I had to choose right now, I guess choosing one or the other, I choose the experiences over the things because I know that without the things, I'm free to go get the experiences, and then later
True.
on, yeah, later on in life, I'm gonna be, you know, provided I get there, right? I'm gonna be able to acquire the big stuff that I want, the houses and the cars and the comfort items and things like that. I also noticed too that I'm more on top of my game with less shit, with less lifestyle management, and that could be an interesting pivot for the conversation. So like the more I have in cars, the more house I have, the higher the higher in the diet, you know, the more I want to go out and experience like fancy food and shit like that. The more complicated things get, and the less I focus on stuff that actually matters to me, which is kind of um, where I've drawn myself back to, like the 5 things that I do on a daily basis that matter 100% of the time. I try to live in that, and then just kind of stack stuff in between as far as lifestyle design is concerned. One of those being travel, and I haven't. We were just talking about that. I haven't done that a whole lot in the last few years.
I haven't traveled in 2 months and I'm going nuts, but I'll be doing a lot of travel this summer. So guys, Josh, you're not going to be there. I'm going to Splash House in Palm Springs with one of the top 1% guys that you and I hang out with there.
Yeah,
I know. LA. Yep.
We were talking about this. If there's a chance I can swing it, there I will try to. But yeah, there's a huge 90% chance I'm going to have to be like in a different state.
I'll be right back. My neighbors are bugging me for some.
No worries. Yeah, building on that, the concept of, or the idea, right, of experiences versus things, right? Yeah, you do have to draw that line and figure out what the priority is. Like for me, when it comes to the cars is the experience, because we drive something super fast, super crazy. It's like, for me, that's a lot of fun, and I go to the racetrack a lot, which I love, racing cars. But then take my friends out for some fun rides and whatnot. But again, for me, that I know one of the core elements about me is that I'm a car guy through and through. Like, even if I had
100%.
I could get rid of everything. I just want fast cars. I just want to drive them. I love being in them. I love being around them. And that kind of is core to sort of who I am. But again, that being said, it's like, you got to figure out what it is that, maintains your dream lifestyle. And again, that's what I love about this space, is that, there's so many different guys that I meet that are very well off and very successful in their lives. And I define success as a, measure of fulfillment, where they're in a place where they feel fulfilled and satisfied with their life. Because I do know some guys that, have crazy amounts of cash and have every toy under the sun in 8 houses, and they're absolutely miserable. And I know guys that are like, hey, they have all that stuff too, and they're really, really happy because they understand and figure out exactly who they are, what they're about, and what speaks to them, versus, again, just chasing the dream because someone says this is the dream that you need to chase. So,
I did that. Yeah, I did that for a really long time, and I mean, I had the car, I had the apartment, the girl, all that shit, and I just found myself managing shit like just trying to manage maintaining whatever the fuck was in front of my face, and it cost me a lot of money, and it was stressful, and I was tolerating things that I shouldn't have been tolerating for who I am. I was disconnected from the core of who I am, which is more of a nature boy than anything. I'm more of a go outside and get that kind of life.
It's that country in you. I got that too.
Man,
I go nuts here in the city too much. If I spend too much time in the city,
and I don't have that at all. I'm so speaking.
Yeah,
I used to go see and visit, but I need to be back in the.
And no, I understand.
I like to escape, but I prefer living in the city. Yeah,
I prefer living in the city too. 100%. I 100% prefer living in the city. It's just a matter like what I used to do when I lived in New Mexico. Ironically, but New Mexico has cities, but it's.
Oh, they do.
I used to live in the city and be busy all the time and stuff like that, and that fed that salesperson, that grinder mentality of mine. And then on Friday at like 4 p.m., I just fucking bounce, dude. I'd drive up to the mountains, go get a cabin, shut my fucking cell phone off, go play some blackjack, go fishing, go play golf. I wouldn't fuck with anybody for days, and then go back to my life on Monday. If I had to design a perfect life, it would be pure chaos Monday through Thursday. I love chaos. And then just that rewind, reel it back in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Go and enjoy live music. Go and whatever, like I was saying, play blackjack. Go play golf. Go do something that is completely disconnected from really making money, because I'm so obsessed with making money, building a bank account, getting better, that sometimes you get a little tied up in it and you forget that you're a multi-dimensional human being that you need rest. You need to sleep for 12 hours every once in a while. You need to go out and have beers with your boys. You need to do stuff like that makes you gives you those moments in life that kind of gives it meaning, because making money is fun. And yeah, we all need, we're all 6-figure at least guys here. So it's not like we're talking about going out and like, oh fuck, I want to live in a tent. That's not it. But we got to fucking unwind too. We got to do some other shit. We got to do some other shit other than grind for our clients, because we just forget who the fuck we are.
Then it's, again, understand, right? Like what it is that you're unwinding thing. Like for me, just going for a nice drive is a great way to unwind, or hanging out with little boys. Like, hey, we're going to go to this fancy restaurant lounge. We're just going to eat some good food, go talk to some lady friends, and then just hang out. For me, that's that's my version, right, of going into the mountains and getting away from everybody.
And totally, that's part of my that's my version too. It's just a matter of how often do we actually get to do that, or how often would I actually get to do that with how much I work on those prescribed days that I was just talking about. And then how beat am I after Thursday afternoon or Friday morning where maybe Friday night, Jared and I used to do. We used to go out after we worked in the loan business. We used to go out and fucking smash flights of beers.
Oh
Like,
yeah, TGI
yeah.
Fridays, unlimited apps.
Oh, we
We'd
did
rack
that
up
before too. Yeah.
we'd rack up like a $300 bill and pay what $20 per
It
person,
was
I
like
think is what it was.
$25 or something like that. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
mean,
then
there's
get some San Diego double IPAs, just toss them back and get stupid. Yeah, we used to
Oh
do that.
yeah, and then go to the dollar store and get some macaroni and cheese because we were on tilt hard as shit from the entire night. Yeah, so there's versions of that, but I mean, and we're talking about extreme versions like going on fancy vacations and enjoying because I would love to go and like rent a lamb, like go to San Tropez, rent a fucking fancy car, stay in luxury accommodations, do that
I
stuff.
rent I rented a Porsche for Palm Springs, Josh. After you, I
Okay.
was like, you know what? I miss drive because I don't drive here in
Yeah.
the city. I've broke lifestyle design. I've broken it down. Like it doesn't make sense. Even with Ubering girls to and from the house, my trips to the airport and like peak traffic, I don't spend more than 200 bucks a month on Uber. So here, like I'd buy a cash car, but then maintenance problems and paying for parking, and then traffic sucks. So for me, like I like just getting in the back of an Uber and just fucking around on my phone or whatever.
Right.
Um, but I do miss driving. I like the sensation of driving. Hate traffic, love driving. California is
Right.
great for both, or terrible for traffic, great for driving when you can get out of traffic. I love driving in California. So yeah,
Still a
so
Uber fare for my last shuffling little background story there. I brought Jared a
uh-huh.
photo shoot of mine and took a BMW i8 over for the shoot, and we wound up Ubering him back while there was a model sitting in his lap on the driveway. It was most entertaining.
Yeah, so I figured went on Turo. I was like, you know what? I'll rent a Porsche for the weekend just to. The point being, scratch that itch. I enjoy driving too. I enjoy fast cars. At some point, I've got my future mapped out for the next couple of years, so that's why I'm just kind of like get there already. But fast cars will be a part of my life to a higher degree in the future at some point. But for now, I want to scratch that itch. So I was like, you know what? I'll be here. I'll drop a few $100 on a Porsche for the weekend and have some fun driving up. I'll fly into Tijuana, across to San Diego, drive up to Palm Springs, take the back roads, and have some fun. And then hang out with some guys for the weekend, head back down, and be right back to work. Actually, no, I'm going to Europe the following day. I'll be home for a day to pack for Europe, and then I'll be out of here for a good part of the summer. So, but those moments, and Steve, I remember talking to you like a couple months ago. It's when I got off of my last vacation, I felt guilty the whole time I was there. And then after a night or two, then I started kind of getting into it, came back feeling refreshed, and then started feeling guilty that I don't travel more. So it's kind of managing, and you guys, you know yourself better than anyone else does. It's kind of managing yourself in the terms of, if I'm getting an itch to get out of the city and go to the mountains for a weekend, I should probably do that. Although I'm
Yeah.
in the mountains, so it'd be going down the mountains for where I'm currently living.
Yeah.
Or
figure out what your thing is, right? Because some people, they love cycling, some people love kayaking, some people love sitting back, kicking back, and playing video games, right? I know it's a hot button issue, like in the space especially, but for me, I'm like, if you enjoy kicking back and unwinding, playing video games for a couple hours, like, okay, that's just a method of relaxing.
Who
Like
gives
there's
a fuck?
definitely far
Yeah.
worse ways you could be spending that time. So hey, if that's your thing and that's your jam, like go for it.
Man, it's one of those things like that. Okay, so I'm a guy, I like to play video games sometimes. I play them like once a week, a couple hours on Saturday nights, and we left the fuck alone, right? But people like bastardize that. I'm like, okay, first off, I get 10,000 steps a day. I make multiple six figures a year. I run multiple businesses. I have a currently successful relationship. I'm more active than anybody here. If I got out of a relationship, I could land pretty much any chick specifically in this area that I wanted to land. I am not losing by playing video games. It's the guys whose dicks don't get hard, who make 40 grand, who are fat, who are lazy. Those are the guys who shouldn't be playing video games. The motherfuckers that are behind shouldn't be playing video games. I am not behind. Like, I put the fucking work in to get those 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever.
It's definitely funny because I've been to a couple of parties, like some big house parties with NBA players, and like the NBA players, you think they'd be like out, like doing all this and that, like at the party, and they're all just kicking back, like playing video games the whole time.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, okay, this is interesting.
On that show, MTV Cribs, half those guys, they had their crew over, their buddies, their bros, their chicks, and just sitting around kicking it. And that's kind of what my hangouts look like. I was talking to someone the other day, female friend, and she was saying something like, "Oh yeah, in the Crimson Capsule type spaces where they use terms like the walls." So she's kind of at that point, like, "Oh my god, I wasted my 20s," and she came over whining about like and this happens to a lot of these types of girls. So they try to get into a relationship, they inevitably screw it up because they never developed those relationship skills. They were just seeking that next high. And then they get to the point like, oh, I want something serious, and like no guy will take them serious. So it was one of these chicks, and I've known her for years. So just kind of breaking down, I was like, hey, based on your lifestyle, like for example, if you told me right now, Jaron, I want to consider you for like a long-term relationship, just not going to happen because you didn't successfully utilize your time when you had it at that point, and now you're kind of stuck. Like no one's going to take you seriously. Um, so we were kind of going through things with her, and then she was saying stuff like, "Oh, I need to get on a diet, and I need to get my fitness together, I need to get this, and that." But those types of conversations, that's what lifestyle design looks like in terms of knowing, okay, I need to have a direction. I need to have some kind of a roadmap. Yes, there's going to be detours along the way. Yes, there's going to be obstacles. Sometimes the road will just blow up in front of you, and you got to find a new method of travel. But you have to know where you're going, and just some basic guidelines of how it is to get there. And when you come across people that don't have these things defined, you can tell they're kind of lost or aimless or directionless, or I like the word rudderless. Um, and that's something that guys definitely should avoid like, for example, if you find yourself in the situation now, guys watching, hey, where am I going? What am I doing? I don't know what's next. Well, you need to have those conversations with yourself and start to figure these things out. That being said, we do have someone backstage from the top 10% group. I will bring him on up and we can keep the conversation going. Let me clear some comments. We just have a couple of the what's up. So Andrew, you'll come up in a second. What's up? Hudsman. Hey, Huds. Bro, you got to jump up on one of these things here soon. Where you been? Yo, gents, traveling to Poland for 3 months today, digging the new setup, Steve. Joel is someone who is practicing lifestyle design. I started talking to Joel not even that long ago, and he outlined the dream and, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's how I'm going to get there. Here's what success looks like. And same thing, kind of what happens to me. I outlined it for a year out, and I think Joel, within 6 months of having that vision, just boom, manifesting it. So on the way to Poland, and Joel, I'll hit you up offline. I think we were talking about meeting up at some point when I'm in Europe this summer. Charlie, hey, Jaron, Dubai is great for everything: driving, racing, dune, safari. Yeah, I haven't been to Dubai
I haven't
yet,
gone
but
that I would really, really like to go to. But man, I just want to make sure I got a stack of cash before I go there to spend, because it just doesn't seem like the kind of place that I want to go to without money, without like real money. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
can't get the full Dubai experience without cash.
it's like going to Vegas on a budget. I think I tried that once. I was like, all right, I'm gonna spend like $200 all weekend. Not as much fun, but Fremont Street is a good time.
I like
You get
Fremont Street. Free
you get a
concerts and
different
shit.
class of people.
Dude, Fremont Street's actually a good fucking time. Like, if you go down to little convenience stores, go get yourself some tall boys and some of those plastic cups and just white trash the fuck out of it, it's such a good time.
It
Done
is.
that.
Yeah, that's the class I meant. Andre, how are you doing, sir? What can we help you with? Or you just want to jump in for a little bit here?
Just wanted to jump in a little bit and, basically contribute a bit to the conversation. Caught the first glimpse and just wanted to say I really agree with your point. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Esteban. It's Steve.
My name is Steve. Yeah, it's Steve.
It's Steve making fun of me because I live in Latin America, and a few months ago we had a guy saying like, "Oh, a couple of white boys trying to be Latin," so we're adopting Latin names.
I want
Troll the trolls.
That, I agree with you about the video games. When I was younger, I got sucked into those online games on the computer on the web browser because we didn't have enough money for a PlayStation, and so I'd go to sites like Addicting Games or whatever, and I'd play those games that sort of wasted your time and were sort of mindless minutes. But eventually I started to realize that I need to have a little bit of fulfillment with these things. So I moved on to consoles, I moved on to PC games, more strategy games, online games. Mm-hmm. And eventually, before I broke off of that, I didn't really see the need to stop. the point that you made that I really like is the guys that are playing those video games, the ones that are 40 years old, don't have income, don't have financial resources to get girls and stuff. They're the ones spending the most time on these apps, on these consoles. Nowadays, it's those phone games, the that suck you in.
They're designed to do that.
Yeah.
Like what do you think someone needs to do to kind of come to that realization, to sort of hit that wall and tell themselves, this is getting to be too much, this is actually to the point where it's sort of detrimental to your health of being able to live the most out of your life and contribute the most that you can?
Well, the reality is that you're going to die one day. And if you're not willing, like, you've got to look at it, you got to look at your time just like money, right? You've only got so much of it. You've only got so much time in your life. And if you haven't accomplished anything with your life and you feel like a piece of shit, the first thing you need to cut out is the thing that's not contributing to it. Because we all do things that aren't contributing necessarily to the improvement or progress of our lives. But the reality is like, if you are successful, if you do go out and work and make good money, or whatever version, I mean, success it can be different to everybody. But if you're satisfied with your life outside of video games and you decide to play video games, ironically, you'll play less video games just because you want to be living in the life outside of those video games. So my suggestion really is to go get a life outside of video games so that you want to play them less, and just play them less. You don't have to quit. Like, everybody's saying, oh, losers play video games. Bro, you're talking about a very large percentage of human beings. There is a reason why this Call of Duty game or whatever is worth hundreds of billions of dollars potentially. Like, there are tons and tons and tons of people, and we're not even talking like hundreds of millions. We're talking billions of people play video games, right? This has been a thing for a long, long time, and of all ages, like crazy. So to say don't play them at all, I don't think that that's necessarily right. But to play them less, or to accomplish stuff with your life that you want to be accomplishing, and then just understand that the time that you spend playing video games, unless you do it professionally, isn't really going to do anything for you other than entertain you. It's nothing different than watching a movie, or watching Netflix, or going to the bar, or if you play golf and you suck at it and you don't play competitively, doing that, or bowling with your friend. Like, it's no different than that. You're just playing video games versus doing the other things. Mind you, there's a social element to it, which has actually improved with video games as of late, with online gaming and microphones and playing head to head against people. And it is fun. It does. I get sucked into it every once in a while for 4 or 5 hours, and I'll just sit around and play video games. Mind you, I spent 6 days of that week grinding my face off, making money and doing that part. So I'm okay with a little bit of spend in that category. I'm not a super like go out and social person. I'm a sober guy. I'm not going to the bars and doing that stuff either. So it's kind of a balance. It's like, I understand what people are saying when they say you're a loser if you play video games. That's a little, I mean, that's for views. That's a little exacerbated. But I also understand the guys who defend them. They're like, dude, this is like, I actually have friends from it. Like, I have legitimate real life friends that I made playing video games. The weirdest thing. And they're closer friends than some of the people that I've met in real life that I've made money with in the past. Right? Like, because you guys have a common thing. And it's usually the weirdest people. But that's what I say is, like, number one, don't take it so seriously. Like, video games are not a serious thing unless you make money at it, and then play all the fucking video games you can possibly play because you make money at it. But, like, if you're doing it for fun, do it for fun. If you like it, just keep doing it. Who gives a fuck what anybody thinks, right? There's a large percentage of us that do it and don't even really talk about it that much. But I would say, huh?
I was going to chime in and say that it's all about moderation, right? Like with
Yeah.
anything, you nothing wrong with sitting back and having a beer, but you sit back and you have like 20 beers in an hour
Every night.
a problem,
100%.
right?
Did that for a long
Same
time
thing
too.
with video games, right? Yeah, nothing wrong. Yeah, you kick back, you play them, for like, you spend like whatever a day, right, playing video games. All right, cool, that's fine.
Dude.
But if it's like 7 days a week and you're not getting what you need to get done, then it's definitely a problem. And the real question you have to ask
100%.
yourself though is, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
As I think it was by Eric Ries, the 4-hour work week, there's a very good section in there where he talks about people get what they truly want. And so, he outlines an example of like, hey, your friends, say, hey, we're going to go out to this place. Do you want to come? And you're like, yes. But then you wind up, just being lazy and sitting back around the house, not doing anything. Well, in reality, what you really, truly wanted was just sit at home and be lazy. You said you wanted to, go out and meet your friends and do this or the other. But in reality, humans get what they want. And so you have to really ask yourself, what do I really want out of this life? And so, if you want to sit around playing video games for, 50 hours a day or, 50 hours in a week, then don't complain about other things that are going wrong in your life. If it's causing that to be a problem, because, hey, 100%. You're consciously choosing to do this, nobody's forcing you to do any of this stuff. So you can either put it down and go do something else, or you consciously make that choice of, well, I'm just going to sit here and just keep playing, and I'll just, another level or another rematch or another this or another that. So you really have to sit down and ask yourself, how bad do you want it? And, unfortunate reality is that, like, a lot of people want to continue to go down that pathway more than they want to go and do something else. So, there's not much you can do.
I think it leaves a lot of, I think it leaves a lot of like room for people to use to excuse themselves from not being productive as well. And like I said, like, play video games if you want to play them. I don't give a fuck. I play them, cool, right? But like,
don't make them your life though, because it's an escape. The same way I play guitar, the same way Josh tears up the back roads in his exotic cars. Every guy needs to have an escape to some degree in their life. But what happens is a lot of guys get sucked into it, and that becomes their entire life, their entire reality, and that's where you start seeing problems.
Yeah, totally. And it's just it's like what he was just saying. It's like an excuse. It's like, oh well, I didn't finish. Like for me, I didn't finish something for a client because I got stuck playing NHL 23 for an extra 2 hours last night, and I got tired and went to bed. That's an inexcusable situation in my world. Like, if I didn't get what I needed to get done for a client, that's on me. That's a responsibility issue as much as anything else, right? And so that if that were to happen, and it's happened in the past, if that were to happen, I just I'll unplug the fucking thing and I'll walk away from it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. My shit sat there for a month and a half one time because I was just so fucking busy. And it wasn't that I was always working, but when you get that busy and you know how to prioritize the shit in your life, you realize that like it's not even close to like even the middle of the pack as far as importance. It's nothing other than a time filler between the time you get done working and the time you fall asleep. Because unless you're a crazy person, you don't get up, pick up a fucking Xbox controller, and then go to work. That doesn't happen very often. It's that 2 hour lag time before you go to bed. And then it probably fucks with your sleep a lot too. Because you've got all the fucking your brain's still moving that quickly. So that's another thing. So you have to figure out even a place where it even makes sense for you. And that's why I use Saturday night, because I say in general, unless there's a Sunday project going on, with my clients, they don't typically work on Sundays. So if I stay up an extra hour or two after I get done playing video games on Sunday and sleep in an extra hour or two, it's not really that big of a deal. It doesn't hurt me one way or the other, right? So it's like, it's such a prayer. Like you people don't realize how bad it affects you, or how much not bad necessarily, but and the negative return you can get on it if you use it inappropriately as an escape. Right?
I like this comment here from Charlie Nelson. To play Cyberpunk in real life is to drive a Bugatti in Shanghai. So luckily, I've never really been into vices in terms of like gambling or any kind of stuff like that. I never really got into, I never got into to video games really either. I'd play them when I was a kid with my brothers or if my buddies had to get together and like, hey, come play Halo with us or something. I'm obviously dating myself. Like, okay, cool. But that was to hang out with my friends in real life, not necessarily to escape into a fantasy world. So, and I was really young when I came to that realization, like, God, I'm wasting a lot of time doing this. I can play the game of life instead. And I'm glad I came to that realization when I was such a young kid, because again, with that mindset of, okay, well, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to go, here's where I get there. That's a game to me, and it's a really fun game, and it's much more dynamic, and there's so many more dimensions, especially guys like the business game. You'll have months where you're up, you'll have months where you're down. You'll think that everything's cooking, and then all of a sudden, boom, something just blindsides you. Like, what is this? that wasn't even the realm of possibility. That is such a fun game to play, and you really get the full experience of life. So I definitely appreciate that comment.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
I, I do the same thing
Dune
now.
Safari is around $300 for one person. He
That's
adds.
not bad.
Yeah.
I do, and like you can take and learn things from, that was an Andrew Tate thing where he said, you're the character, level up your character. You're the main character in your own video game, level yourself up, whatever he said. It's all true. And it's funny because sometimes I think about that when I like to play like NHL, for example. And I'm like on the Be a Pro and I'm like an 84 level or whatever, and I get pumped when I'm an 85 subconsciously, right? You're like, oh, cool, I leveled up. Nice. You hear all the good things that people are saying about you in the game as a player, and that's what gets addictive too. Is you hear all that positive reinforcement of as far as being good in the game, but you don't hear that shit in real life. So you go to the game to get what you should be getting in real life if you were putting in the same amount of work.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Do you think a lot of guys in today's society are seeing video games as an outlet to sort of increase their competitiveness in a
No.
way that's missing from society normally? Like, for example, if they're not very competitive in other aspects of their life, they seek video games.
Competitive guys go outside and do shit.
Competitive guys want to fuck people up in real life. They don't want to. They want to fuck up the game in real life. And I'm not saying that you can't be competitive in video games and not be competitive in real life. That's not it. But guys who have a competitive streak in them go and get competitive in real life, and then when they play video games, they're generally impossible to play with because they are extremely competitive and no fun to play with. So I think guys who aren't competitive in real life want to pretend that they're competitive by being competitive at video games. So you can be both, but I don't think you're competitive in video games and not competitive in real life. I don't think you're. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. You're not competitive in video games and then competitive in real life. You're competitive in real life and then you're competitive in video games because you're competitive in anything. You want to win at everything.
Do you guys remember that guy in high school? And there's always that one guy. I'm like, hey, man, we're having a pickup ball game. Do you want to join? Yeah, sure. And he's like throwing elbows and getting super serious. Like, dude, like we're just having a good time, man. Yeah, the guy that takes everything. I had a buddy like that in high school, and he would always lose too, which was really funny. I used to be really into satire back in the day when satire was separate from society. Now they're one and of the same. So even when you watch South Park, you're like, well, it's not as funny because this is reality now. It's insane. But there's always that one guy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and my buddy, he was terrible. He was terrible at just about everything, but super overly competitive.
That's fucking awesome.
And he was like a character, like a cartoon character in my head, and I just laugh at him in real time. But yeah, everyone has those friends.
I mean, I think in the beginning you have to, but I mean, what is the formula for a winner, right? It's a delusional guy who does nearly the impossible to attain a nearly impossible status in his life. And I think that's one of the definitions of how it even makes any sense. But yeah, I think you kind of have to be like that guy is the guy who ends up being successful though. The delusional guy who sucks at shit. And then eventually he just gets tired of losing and he ends up getting better at it. Or he just quits, one or the other. It seems to be one of the two.
Yeah, but kind of tying that all back to your like idealized lifestyle again, right? It's like again, you factor in what does your dream life look like, right? And so it's like, hey, if I'm on the couch playing video games all day, is that really my dream life, right? And hey, maybe for someone that is, all right, cool. If that's your thing, man, hey, by all means, I can't say anything to you, right?
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, right, they know that there's more that they could be doing or more that they could be achieving. And so you need to listen to that voice that's saying like, hey, I want to be doing more, right? And when you start listening to that, that's really what's going to, drive you and push you and get you into other endeavors. And again, success is going to be a very varying metric, right? Because again, my measurement of success is, going to be somebody else's measurement of failure. And it's not going to be enough for, somebody else, or it's going to be way over the top for where somebody else wants to be. So you really do have to sit and break down and map out for yourself, what is that dream life that I have? What does it include? Does it include like being able to, afford taking care of my parents, right? Or is it, I don't have a good relationship with them, so screw them. I just want to make sure that I'm just taken care of, right? Or is it, hey, I want to go be able to donate, half my income to charitable organizations every year because I really believe in these causes. I want to make sure that they're properly funded. So, you got to ask yourself again, like where on the spectrum is, your dream lifestyle? What does that success metric look for you? And then you'll know if you're living up to that success potential or not. And then you'll know, like, okay, am I really, what do I need to change, or what do I need to cut out, or what do I need to do in order to get to level up? Because again, yeah, the video games is definitely, it's an easy target, right? Where people just say, oh, one person does it for like an hour, and then automatically like you're put into this category. But it's more of like anything else, right? It's in moderation. It can be fine. It's a great way to relax, a great way to unwind, or again, just a great way to, again, get your mind, do something kind of mindless while your brain is thinking. Because I'll kick back and play video games for like maybe 2 hours on the weekend, but the whole time my mind is just decompressing and thinking about like other stuff going on in the real world. And this is just like a way to like keep myself busy without the active stress on top of it, right? So that can be a great way to kind of relax. Or I think I like was it that Ron Swanson quote where he talks about fishing, where he's like, yeah, I love fishing because it's like yoga, except I get to kill something. And so,
Ron Swanson.
You got to find, exactly, something that, works out well for you and unwinds. Because again, human beings, we're not wired to be on the go like 24/7. Like even God took a day of rest, right, after going on a 6-day rager. So, you kind of have to follow that model where you do need rest, because you can burn out. And you will burn out if you're constantly like, on the grind level. So in your dream lifestyle, right, make sure that there's some self-care put in there where it's like, hey, this is the thing that I like to do as part of my dream lifestyle. That's an unwind for me. And then, you can factor that in moderation with everything else in your life. Because again, you get a little too far off balance one way or the other, you're going to feel the effects of the repercussions somewhere.
Yeah, and you don't have to be like, dude, you can the thing is, people think that they got to make a decision and stick to it for the next 70 years. It's like, I decided to quit drinking for a year. So I'm just not, I'm drinking, I am sober right now. Like I'm choosing right now for the next year or 6 months or whatever it is. It's like, same with video games. If you're in a position in your life where you're like, okay, well, I have these other goals that I set. Let me go take care of that. Let me go get to that next level. And then I can come back to this later. It's always going to be there. Unless you're dead, it's always going to be there, right? So it's like, you don't have to give them up forever. But what if you just did it, like cut back to a couple times a month for the next 6 months to improve your life by 300%? It's like you're kind of, I mean, it sounds a lot more reasonable. It also sounds a lot more attainable to do it that way.
Or I mean, again, if you're like, a story writer, right? That's your dream lifestyle. You want to be a writer, and you use a lot of different games as like a source of inspiration for your material. All right, cool. That's great, right? Because you can leverage that as resource. And we're going to start to see that now, right? There's a ton of like, video game properties that are being adopted, into major, right, like movies and other media formats. But again, if you rewind the clock, there's been some pretty, if you look at it from just like a purely intellectual standpoint, there's actually been some pretty like hardcore, amazing storytelling that's been going on in the video game world over the last 15 years, which is why it surpassed, movies and music as the #1 entertainment medium in the world. So, there is a certain case to be said for, hey, you can leverage them to, find inspiration for your professional life as well, or for some type of, goal that you're working towards. So again, like there's a lot that can, be, can be gained or gleaned in multiple purposes. But again, like with anything, it can be a trap, and you can easily fall into the time sink with it, no matter what it is. So again, when you're breaking down your idealized dream lifestyle, ask yourself, all right, is this contributing to it, or does this just kind of go into more of like the fun category as like more of an escape from it? And if it's more of that fun category, then you want to make sure you're limiting that time, versus if it's actually contributing to it, then all right, cool. You got a Twitch stream. All right, cool. Blow that Twitch stream up. Like be very successful,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, does it make you feel like a fucking loser when you do it? If it
There you
doesn't, then
go.
do it.
Yeah.
Then do it. If it does, then don't do it. Like, it's pretty much that simple. And I mean, if it brings you some version of happiness, and that's not just elation or adrenaline or whatever, but it, like, genuinely you feel okay when you pick them up and you feel okay when you put them down, and it adds to your life. This is anything, right? This isn't just video games. Anything, right? Go if you go for a walk and you're about that walk in life, fucking go for a walk, dude. Like, it doesn't matter. If it contributes, it contributes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's pretty simple. And the metric, what's nice is you'll be able to tell very quickly with the majority of things whether or not they contribute to your quality of life or not. And I don't like speaking in I don't like it when I hear people speak in absolutes, because I don't think that it's the same for everybody. I don't think that it's fair to even put everybody in a box.
Never speak in absolutes.
Yeah,
Never
and
speak in
it's,
absolutes.
again, there's
That's a
different
good point.
purposes, right? Like when I was growing up with my brothers, right? Instead of getting into fist fights, what we would do is we would load up, our Sega and we play Mortal Kombat. That would be how we just settled like all arguments, all disputes. Like if we got like
That'd be
super
dope.
heated or anything, we just kick the crap out of each other like virtually, right? So it worked out kind of well, and our parents were kind of like, they're a little bit confused. Like we don't
Conflict
necessarily
resolution.
yeah, like we don't necessarily like the violence in the video game, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's
You're not
better than them
punching
just
each
like
other.
scuffling and punching each
Yeah.
other. Like 'cause we used to do that, and then it was like, oh, okay, here's a medium that like we can kind of enjoy, and then like then
Yeah.
it's like there's nothing else that to be said, right? So
Yeah,
What if that was the way we settled all conflict? Is we just pulled up Mortal Kombat and like
oh, that's great.
presidents just went at it, just
Oh, no,
like to
it's
the
so
death.
satisfying when you like
We
argue
used-
with somebody, and then you pull a fatality on them, and you're just like, all right, like there's nothing you can do. Like, oh, it's
That'd be
amazing.
kind of funny.
We
I like
we used
that.
to always give my youngest brother the fucked up controller, and then just
Okay.
slowly watch him lose it, and then inevitably the controller was screwed up because he'd lose and he'd like throw it against the wall. We're like, well, we're not going to give him a good controller; he's just going to break that one too. And there's always a guy in that group when we used to do like the Halo parties with my buddy when I was about that age and that game was popular on the original Xbox. A good buddy of mine, he never like really knew how to figure out the game, so he'd just spawn and just be waiting there. Like if you just want to like up your kill count, just bam, just get mark. But he was such a cool guy. Like he treated it like I did. It was just to hang out with the guys. So it kind of was that rather than us like picking on the weaker guy, getting physical or whatever with him. We were still screwing with Mark and we were still having a good time and laughing at his expense, but it was just a good time. So again, I understand the social nature of the video games. Back in the day, they didn't have the online or the ability to interact with people online. So it's been a long time since I played video games, but in real life, it was super fun. Getting to Josh's point, using it as a medium to kind of inflict pain upon other people in a digital environment rather than the real world.
And again, that's the
Yeah.
reason why like World of Warcraft blew up so much, right? Because it was really like one of the first true online community-based games, right? And people were able
Makes
to quote, unquote,
sense.
find their tribes virtually, right? And so, it's what happens in the video game world is what happens in the real world. We just translate it virtually. So, it can be a great escape or release, or again, you can find great ways in order to monetize it and make it, highly productive. Like there are people that, right, run virtual stores in video games that people pay actual real money for things and they make really good livings at it. And you're like, what the hell, right? So there's a lot of different ways in which you could, again, leverage the platform. But the real question is again, comes back to what does your dream life look like? And if your dream life is a virtual life, all right, hey, that's your thing. All right, cool. Go for it. I wish you the best of luck. If your dream life is offline, then you probably will want to be spending more time offline than you do online, right? Unless you can figure out a way to monetize that online or use it in a way that's going to drive, right, more of a focus to, your real world goals. So,
Yeah.
that being said, I've got to drop, gentlemen, but it's been a pleasure.
Oh,
Alrighty.
You're good. Yeah, it's been fun today. It's a really interesting topic, actually.
Yeah, and Josh is actually living the life. I'm living the life currently that I designed years ago, and I'm working towards the next chapter. So, guys, I should have Josh. I should have had you pitch yourself, but guys, if you follow me on Instagram at Jaron Scott, Renegade Wingman will be my followers, so you'll be able to find him. But he does a lot of like the social games. He's really into the social scene in general. I've learned quite a bit from him. We have a lot of fun together when we do get together, and that leads me to a point I wanted to make, piggybacking on Renegade's previous point, is that be very careful about not getting sucked entirely into the digital world. So I draw a very clear distinction between the digital and the analog world. I do all of my work online. I make all my money online. And sometimes it's very easy for me to get sucked into online. And then it blows my mind a lot of times because I live here in Mexico. So online all day I'm doing stuff in English. And then someone knocks on the door. I'm like, oh, yeah, like you all of a sudden I pull my headphones out and walk away from the camera and I'm back in the physical world. I'm like, oh, I live in a different country and they speak a different language. I have to put on a different persona for this specific person showing up at my door. And a lot of people, I think, run the risk of getting sucked into the digital world entirely. And I love that movie. I didn't like the whole movie, but there's a scene in that movie, Wall-E, that came out years ago where it's just a bunch of fat people sitting around in front of a screen. I'm like, oh, that was a cautionary tale. So be sure, guys, that you do have a life in the analog world, because as much as I love having conversations with you guys online, and technology is awesome. It enables me to do this. I can talk to my buddies and we can make money and we can pitch products and come up with cool stuff. People all over the globe. It's miraculous. The advent of some of these newer technologies that are still just in their infancy. They're going to emerge rapidly and exponentially, but it doesn't compare to living in the analog world. When Steve and I get together, we throw back some drinks. We have a good time, and we can hear the sights and the sounds and the smells depending upon wherever we're at. And when Renegade and I,
and how drunk we are too. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have good conversations online through FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, but it's not, it pales in comparison to in real life when we walk into a social scene together, like, all right, let's play the room, or let's do this, or bro, I'll see that chick. Oh yeah. I was like, dude, she's giving you the eyes. Yeah, I'm on her. Like, it adds so much depth and dimension to the experience. So make sure you guys aren't substituting real life experiences with these digital platforms or mediums, or one of my business coaches calls them infinity traps, where you get it like when you're scrolling Instagram, you're like, oh, it's habitual. I'll just take a look, and then you're just going. You're like, where'd that last half hour go? So any of these types of distractions, yes, they're fun. Yes, it's a release. Yes, it's an escape, but really focus on creating a life in the real world, and you'll feel a lot different about just your general existence.
Have you ever, I know you have, Jaron, but has anybody ever listened to a song, listened to a song on the radio and then went and saw that person or that band or whatever in like live? That's the difference.
Yeah,
like
I do
that's
that with
the
everyone.
fundamental difference.
Unless the acoustics suck.
Yeah,
Back in the day at the
that's
Houston
true.
Astrodome, it was a dome, so it would encapsulate
Echo
the
really bad,
sound.
yeah.
Yeah, and you'd hear the bass just a couple beats after you can see the drummer, hit that bass drum, and it drives me nuts as an audio person. But
Mhm.
aside from that, that's a great analogy, and
Yeah.
it's a whole production. And what you also get, because I'll do the same thing. I'll watch like live music pieces, or if there's a music festival, I'm like, oh, put an actual set on, because I hate playing DJ on YouTube. Every 2 or 3 minutes, you have to change the song. Like, all right, here's an hour and a half set. Just put it on, and it sounds cool and it looks cool, and I can enjoy it from the comfort of my own home or in the background as I'm doing stuff around my place. But going to a music festival, I don't go to music festivals because it's fun to stand on your feet all day and get sunburnt and sweat and get dehydrated and have to go to the bathroom every few minutes if you're drinking, and then go to those disgusting music festival urinals. I don't go to music festivals for that. It's because of the collective energy in that, oh, there's 250,000 people here having that same experience. It's really
Having to
fun.
shit in the
It's
same
something bigger
100
than
porta
you.
potties.
Yeah. Dude,
It's
a
so terrible.
Coachella porta potty, middle of
Miserable
Palm,
experience.
yeah, middle of nowhere, Palm Springs, and right when
That's
it's starting
funny.
to heat up. Yep. Like that
Oh,
part's
dude.
not fun. But what's fun is telling the story. We're laughing right now. Like, yeah, it sucks so
Sure.
hard, but
Going
I'll do it again.
to a
I love
rodeo is
music
the same
festivals.
thing. Remember the
Yep.
rodeos where they have one strip of like 5 porta potties for
It's a
like
trough.
17,000 people? Yeah, it's a trough to piss in with ice, and it just
Yep.
smells like rotten fucking cat piss in there. And
Down
there's
here in
one dude shitting his
they throw
pants in
the
the bathroom.
down here in Mexico,
Ugh.
they throw the squeezed limes in there. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna piss the pulp out of that lime. It's almost like a challenge in the
That's
trough
funny.
urinals.
There's always like 1 or 2 dudes that are shitting in those bathrooms that is just an absolute mess, clearly, because they've drank like 15 Bud Lights and it's like 110 outside. Oh, it stinks so bad, and there's so many smelly people just like standing in the doorway, just like just recirculating that fucking taco energy. So
I'm the guy.
awesome.
I'm the guy who always has to shit at the bar. I don't know, like I was dealt a really good hand in life, and I thank God for that. But there's sometimes there's details, and like without fail, if I go to a bar, like I can clear everything out at the house. Same thing on the airplane too. All right, like hey, we're now boarding. That's my cue to go to the bathroom. Hey, Uber's gonna be here in 5 minutes. All right, let's squeeze one out real quick. You get to the bar, you get on the airplane, you get to the music festival. I'm like oh no. I think that's because I think that's because I fast though. So like all day long, digestive system's not doing anything, and all of a sudden
That's not it.
you
I
ingest
fast all the
something.
time. That's not
Yeah.
it.
No, even when I didn't fast, I've always been that way. That was a joke when I was a kid.
That's fucking funny.
We'd go out and like you'd be at the restaurant and still kind of talking, having a conversation without fail. Within 20 minutes, I have to go. Although it helps me out with the buffets, like the Chinese buffets. Like, all right, let's do a few plates. Give it 20 minutes, clear everything out. I'm like, all right, now I'm back.
You've got to stop drinking liquid within like 2 hours of getting on a plane, because you're like me, where you just drink a lot of water and
Yep.
a lot of shit constantly. If you've seen me, I've drank like 40 ounces of water on the stream.
Uh-huh.
But like I'm a camel, you're the opposite. And then you drop 3 plates of food on top of it, you're gonna make a mess, my friend.
Oh, bro,
Good Lord.
I vape on the plane. There's actually really funny Instagram hashtags, vapes on a plane or like vape on a plane, and it's entertaining, so to speak, if you don't want to waste your time for just a few minutes.
I'd
That being
rather
said,
play video games.
guys, I think it's ended up being more of a video game conversation, but unless we have anything else to talk about, I think we can probably start wrapping it up. So what are you guys up to? Where do people find you? So guys, I know we have a new face on here. So Andrew's actually a part of the top 10% group. He's going to help me do some kind of administrative operational stuff. So Steve's also in the group now too. So really, for those who don't know what it is, top 10% group, it was originally structured to be a feeder group to Rich Cooper's top 1% group and his higher level entrepreneur type groups. We hit our first milestone, really for me, what I consider like a beta test. So we have 105 members now. Yes, that's a bit small, but now we know what works and what doesn't work and what people like and dislike. And then we have some new features and functionality and benefits we're going to start adding as value adds to that group as we look towards the next goal, which is 1,000 people. So I always said the value of these groups, because I realize there needs to be an educational component to a lot of people. Like, all right, I'm gonna just give you money and just get a Facebook group. There's free Facebook groups. Well, it's precisely because of the price point that you want to get in those groups, because it weeds out all the time wasters, all the trolls, all the nonsense. You get higher level engagement, higher level interaction, higher level conversation. I enjoy. I'm in a bunch of these groups, so I enjoy them quite a bit because I know I know I'm not gonna get stupid comments. I know that if I put out a new idea, people are going to take it and they're going to sit on it and they're going to observe it and they're going to come back and say, hey, you know what? I think you might be onto something. Have you looked at it from this angle? Or, ooh, yeah, bro, you're off base. I was actually exactly in that situation one time. Here's how I got there. Here's what I did. Here's what happened. Just my 2 cents. Just want to help you avoid some heartache. So you get streamlined information and conversations quite quickly. But we've been doing monthly calls. I think we're going to up that to weekly. So we'll start getting some workshops in there, getting subject matter experts from within the group and outside of the group in there to tackle more verticals of life rather than just the open Q&A session. Guys have communicated that's a lot of value. We recently started doing meetups, so we will start planning more of those now that, again, we're having more of a network effect and growing that group. So right now is the perfect time to get in. If you're looking to level up in all areas of love and life by building lives worth living and loving, well, you got to get into that top 10% group. And it's still small enough to where you can establish yourself as a leader. The reason I ended up on Rich Cooper shows is because I got in his 1% group kind of in the early days and became a subject matter expert very quickly, became the go-to guy for various functions, features, benefits of the group, or just to talk about very specific topics. So we're at that point now in the top 10% group where if you want to come in, you're like, hey, you know what? There's some things I think I can get out of the network, but I'm kind of a boss in this area of my life. Let me go ahead and give to the community as well. It's precisely the place for you. That is exactly what we are looking to do, is to build an international network of like-minded men, top shelf men, top 10% men. And then again, if you get to the point where you're making like, hey, $1 million annually in revenue and you want to join the top 1% group or entrepreneur level groups, you can do that. Or if you want to stay there and just hang out and have a good time and watch other guys and cheer them along as they continue on their path to success, then you can do that also. So that is my spiel. That being said, guys, do you have anything to promote, or are we good to wrap it up?
Well, I mean, the top 10% group is actually, it's going to end up being. I say, well, it's already there. The people may be able to go into these Facebook groups and like get advice and shit like that, but you're talking about a group with, I would say, 25% of us make at least six figures, and we're all great at what we do, and
We've
we're
been
all,
getting we've been getting millionaires in there lately. I ran
yeah.
I
I
ran an
mean,
ad campaign with a very broad audience. I'm like, oh, I'm attracting millionaires, so now I gotta
yeah.
now I'm gonna look at those metrics and get more of those guys.
And and guys, it's not just for a specific type of guy either. It's for everybody. I mean, you've got anybody from me like the nature boy type to Jaren City Boy to I totally fucking forgot his name off the top of my head. Renegade Wingman. Sorry, you got
Yeah.
him. We're all completely different humans. Like, but we all come together for a common cause. So I think that it's that you can become a very well-rounded person if you're in a group of people that are completely different than you, but you want similar things. That's kind of where the value comes in with that group specifically.
Yeah, and guys, if you want to get in there, just hit me up Instagram at Jaron Scott. It's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Just say like, hey, I heard about the group on your show. I'm curious, need more information. If you need to, I can get you on a quick 15-minute call, just kind of walk you through everything. Maybe give you just a still a high level view, but a more detailed view to assuage any concerns you might have. Because I realized that for me, at first too, the whole group concept is like I'm just going to give you money and then like what, like get access to a forum. Oh my God, has provided so much ROI in my life. But I spend a lot of money on myself. I'm very serious.
Yeah,
I'm
me
very
too.
dedicated. I'm very motivated. I think I'm worth it. I not only think, but I know I'm the architect of my own universe. So if I can go and give knowledge and help guys out in areas of their lives they may be struggling, and in return get knowledge in areas of my life where I might have blind spots, it is so much worth it for me. And every vertical of my life has increased drastically since I started getting into not just the group I manage, not
Yeah,
just Rich's other groups, but just groups in general. Because again, what you want to do is you want to filter out the noise. You want to go somewhere and they're like, all right, I have this issue. It's probably not something I can talk about publicly. We can't have conversations here on the streams publicly that we do in those groups. We really get into some stuff. So guys, if you do think you're worth it, I personally think I'm worth $1,000. In fact, I spend a lot more money annually on my education and self
this
improvement.
month.
And yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm investing more in the group too. So we'll be building
yeah,
out a lot more features and functionality. Been talking about breaking out some signal chats. I've always liked the idea of the game room, which is where guys like, oh, hey, I'm having a dating problem. Let me send you a screenshot. And then in real time, again, if there's 10 guys in the chat, might take a bit to get a response. But if there's 1,000 guys in that stream, then in real time, you'll start getting like dating feedback or fitness stuff. Hey guys, I'm at the gym. How do I do this movement correctly? Well, if there's 1,000 guys in there, you're going to start getting that. So that's the goal, is to start scaling the group. And in doing so, we're building out some more features and functionality. And again, we're still at the point where if you want to emerge as a leader in these groups, which I did that in Rich's top 1% group, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, do you want to come on my show every week? I'm like, oh, well, that's helped me out considerably. I used to think
yeah.
talking about red pill topics would get me blacklisted from my industry. It has, but but
Of course it has.
yeah. But Rich has, but it's forced me to start making money in new ways and develop myself as a person, and I'm very thankful for that. So there's always an upside to a downside.
The world always
Um,
balances itself out.
it really does, but in doing so and getting that exposure, I've gotten the opportunity of launching this group and directing it with Renegade Wingman, my buddy Moff, and then we have another admin, Bentley. Guys that are in the group know Bentley fairly well, and it's opened a lot of new opportunities for me that I didn't think was possible. And then you have guys like you have guys at all different areas or levels of life in different vectors of their life, and it's really cool. Like our Miami meetup, we had a guy there. He's like a private hedge fund manager and like savvy angel investor. He's just looking to spend money. He's just having a good time. And then you got guys like me, like, all right, Bentley, we're gonna go open girls in Spanish in Miami. Oh, good time. So like, there's all, and that's the benefit of the group. There's different areas of expertise, and you immediately, okay, yeah, you're gonna pay $1,000 to get in, but you have these resources. You have the calls. We're gonna start doing workshops. We're gonna start doing the Signal live streams or whatever, or text chats We'll probably do a memes one too. Those are always fun in other groups I'm in. But and then if you have any new ideas, bring them to the table and say, hey, Jaron, I think it'd be really great if this group did this. Can I go ahead and take the lead on it? Hell yeah, you can. That just adds more value to the people in there. So it really is more than just, okay, you sign up and then you're in a group like, oh, there's some bomb memes here. Oh, it's a bunch of guys complaining about women. It's there's much more depth to that. It's really about creating a brotherhood. And my goal is eventually to create an international network of like-minded men or high-level men. So that's my spiel in the group. Guys, also I do coaching services too. So if you want to get on an hour coaching call first and then kind of feel me out, I can still save a few minutes, show you the group, and let you know what it's all about. And then if you do end up signing up, I'll just discount the cost of the coaching call. So if you need a little more convincing, do that. And then also in these workshops, going back to lifestyle design, there are a lot of activities I give my corporate consulting clients that I think will be beneficial to the group in terms of like how to plan your perfect day, how to manage your energy, and give you some mental, some visual activities or tricks that you can use. Like, oh, okay, I have an energy bank. Am I making deposits or am I making withdrawals? Once you have that boom built into your framework, it really makes things a lot easier. So I'll start introducing a lot of my high level corporate consulting activities into the group as well. And I encourage guys that are in there to start doing that too. Start sharing your areas of expertise. Like you are an expert at something, and then areas where you might need some help, use that ask feature and get in there. And then guys watching, we'd love to have you. You have value to add, and when you get in a group of guys that are looking to help other guys level up, well, some really cool stuff happens really fast. So that's my takeaway on that. Guys, unless you have anything else to add, I'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Let's do it.
All right, cool, guys. Well, you heard my spiel. If you haven't done so, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, enable all notifications if you haven't done so. Otherwise, you will not be recommended my content because, well, it's verboten, these types of topics. A bunch of guys trying to become better, like, oh, yeah, no, the Matrix doesn't
Come join the
want that.
10%, guys. Come do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely do that. Instagram at Jaron Scott. We're going to end the stream here in a second. So any comments that you have, leave them in the comments down below. And that being said, I think I will go ahead and sign off. I'd like to thank you all for stopping on by. And until next time, we shall bid you all farewell.